Sasic, and I'm with Next Best Picture. Ned, it's a pleasure to meet with you. How are you?
Good. So nice to meet you, Emma.
Thank you for your time today. I was so excited to have the opportunity to chat about this film because you always throw something creative at us. I know it's your first film. You presented it from two different aspects, with this one literally time traveling in the past. So I can tell that you like adding a certain flair to your films. Is that always kind of the goal for you?
To a degree, I think it's just, what works for the story and, what feels fresh and different to me. So to a degree, I guess. Yeah.
I know that it had been a while between those two projects. How was it like stepping back into the director's chair for this one?
It was awesome. This was just such an incredible experience with such a great group of collaborators, be it Searchlight, be it with my crew, and just an incredible group of actors. We had a lot of fun on this one.
I guess what led to a little bit of that pause. I think it was about maybe 10 years or so between Eleanor Rigby and this film.
Yeah, I mean, I think, after Eleanor Rigby, I started writing for other people a lot. I mean, I'm mostly been a screenwriter more
Mhm.
than a director in my career, and directed a bunch of commercials and just was trying to figure out what to do next. And there were two movies. There was one in 2016 where we tried to put it together, but it fell apart. Uh, and then one in 2018, which I really got close to, but ultimately, I think just the timing felt wrong for that movie in terms of me directing it. And then, picked this script, which I'd written a draft of in 2009, up during
Oh.
like 2020, kind of during the pandemic, and revisited it. And then once it was done, I gave it to Searchlight and they wanted to make it. So here we are.
That was probably a good time because, I mean, we were all at home, probably listening to music nonstop. Was that kind of the fuel for you? Is that how you would describe the setting for you during the pandemic?
100%. I think we were all isolated like Harriet to a degree in these spaces, and music was both this nostalgia machine to bring us back to the past, but also this thing that was reminding us, keeping our spirits up and reminding us to live.
I just had an opportunity to very briefly chat with Lucy and Justin, and they both said to me how impactful music has been to them throughout their lives. And this film, I think, allowed them to really, I guess, recognize its role in the good moments, the difficult moments in their lives. For yourself, how did this film kind of impact that relationship that you have with music in your own personal life?
I mean, I think it was almost reversed in a weird way because music has been so impactful to my life. The emotional resonance of music and certain songs, or so many songs that take me back so specifically to times and periods and moments in my life, was really why I wanted to make the movie. So yes, it enhanced it even further, but to really share it with this group of people and kind of trade playlists and trade music and discuss music through character and story was really fun.
Oh, you
And
have to tell me about the playlist now. Now I have to know about all of these playlists.
well, I think yeah, in pre-production, I shared a playlist for each character with each of the actors, and then we had an overall playlist for the movie that we would, on every day on the call sheet, there would be a specific song that would kind of guide the mood of the scene. But really, I think we kind of had this dialogue and music with, Lucy, Justin, David, and Austin, where we were kind of defining the characters through the music in their lives, and then defining them within the movie, and then having the music also help the storytelling as well. So like if you lyrically pay attention to what the songs are saying in each scene, like they are helping tell the story.
Yeah, I certainly enjoyed the Nelly Furtado I'm like a bird moment, and kind of giving both Lucy and Justin's character that moment of freedom that I feel like they both so desperately needed in that film because too many struggles going on in their lives. And then, of course, all of those certain scenes that she shares with her boyfriend in the past. Since music obviously is such an important part of this film, how, I guess, how did you go about maybe picking certain songs, or I guess maybe creating a list of what would be most appropriate for X, Y, and Z scenes.
Yeah, so I worked really closely with Mary Ramos, who acted as our music supervisor, and then DJ Harvey as a musical consultant, and then Ryan Lott, who did the score and then wrote the song with Nelly Furtado. That's in the end of the movie. But we really wanted to find music that represented each of these characters, but also, again, was lyrically, doing the storytelling and giving subtext and creating the right mood, but also an eclectic soundtrack that represented both the past, the present, and felt dynamic, for lack of
Mhm.
a better.
Since you obviously crafted it for these individual characters, what would your playlist as director, writer, what would all of those kinds of things consist of?
I mean, a lot of it's in the movie,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, personally, there are just so many different songs and albums that are huge for me. I think when I think of Fleetwood Mac, or I think of my parents, when I think of Avalon by Roxy Music, my mom, when I think of Tribe Called Quest, Midnight Marauders, that's like high school for me. Kid A, Radiohead is college. Outcast, Anconia, they played the Steps my last week in college. So like there are
Oh.
so many different moments and songs that just I think are time travel mechanisms to like different punctuation marks in my life.
I just spent the weekend at Coachella because I would live and work in the Palm Springs area, so that's one of my job perks. I get to go and cover it. So this entire weekend has been filled with music for me. So this is like a very perfect way to kind of cap off that weekend. Do you get to go to these kinds of festivals? Is that part of your music loving self too?
Yeah, I mean, I one of the scenes in the movie was inspired by going to see Jamie XX at Outside Lands with my
Yeah.
my wife. So yeah, I love going to a music festival every once in a while. I think it's the communal aspect and the collective aspect of watching music with other people. I think is such an awesome cultural experience, and I think that's the sort of connective tissue that music has for people, as a medium, is like we share these songs and we share stories through these songs about our lives, and I think that's the emotional power that music has on us.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of Jamie XX, I saw him yesterday very briefly. So he's there. He's still rocking out.
Yep, is he's awesome.
I, I kind of like how both with Eleanor Rigby and with this film, you really dive into the personal romances and relationships that people have with each other, and the ups and downs, people kind of reflecting on those good and bad moments. I guess, what is it about that aspect of human nature that is so either compelling to tell in films, or something that really seems to inspire you to, at least with these two films, kind of tackle that type of story?
I'm really interested in just relationships and sort of like who we have become through those relationships and how we
Mhm.
define ourselves through relationships. And I think this movie really was about our capacity to hold more than one love in our hearts. I think we're all defined by our past relationships, which then allow us into our later relationships. And I think it was this sort of idea that um, Harriet could carry Max in her heart and could accept David into her heart, while at the same time, like being able to move forward in her life and be open to experience beyond the past, for lack of a better word, if that makes
Mhm.
any sense.
Yeah, I do have to say the ending kind of surprised me a little bit in terms of her decision to I guess kind of walk away from that big moment that started everything for them. I guess my regular movie brain was thinking, she's going to be able to figure out how to grieve this relationship and move on knowing that the past happened and that she can, make time for a new love in her life and to just move on. But that kind of took me a little bit by surprise. I guess for you, since I get the opportunity to ask, why make that kind of I guess, big shift for her in that monumental moment.
Well, I think, she had to make this choice either to save Max's life, and really save David and her own lives as well, because I think they were trapped in this vicious cycle of the past having so much hold over them. So
Mhm.
really it was about being able to let go of that in order for each of them to move on and for each of them to live. So it was this beautiful gift and sacrifice that they made together. I mean, they're in those scenes, without any spoilers. There are a lot of discussions happening towards the end of the movie about, if you did this or if you did that. I think it's really this kind of gift of the magi moment where they're all kind of sacrificing something that they love in order to allow the person who they love to move on.
And I guess it's that, you just never really know what will happen in the future, what will happen because of those past decisions. And I do kind of love the way you end this film on that, well, what now? What could possibly happen with this set that we're given? That was a very, very cool touch.
Oh, thanks. I mean, I think it's just this idea of being open to experience and re-engaging in the unknown, which, she had isolated herself from the majority of the movie. So really it was
Right.
about stepping out into that and being open to whatever the future holds for her.
With the final few minutes that I have, I would love to, just kind of know, working with Lucy, Justin, and David for this film. I mean, that was the core team behind all of it, and Austin as well. You know, how was that process like? Either casting them, did you maybe already have a few of these actors in mind going into the project? I guess if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about that process.
Yeah, for sure. They were all on the radar. I was introduced to each of them actually. Actually, I met Lucy first and had an
Mm.
amazing meeting with them. And just, on the initial her walk into the coffee shop that we met, I felt, oh, this is Harriet.
Mhm.
And then we talked about the script and the character, and really just felt that we jived as people. So that was really exciting. And then same thing, I met Justin on a Zoom for the first time, and we had this kind of like deep, vulnerable conversation, and he just had a lot of the qualities that I felt David, or I wanted David to embody. And again, just another great actor, great person. David Cornsweet had worked with Lucy before, so there's this kind of nice pre-existing relationship that I think lent itself to the Max Harriet dynamic and having a past. And they'd actually played boyfriend and girlfriend before in The
Oh,
Politicians.
perfect.
About that helped, but also David, extraordinary actor, another extraordinary person. And then the Morris character I based a little bit on Larry Levin, who's a DJ who had the Paradise Garage in the 80s in New York, one of my favorite DJs. And then DJ Harvey, who's a current DJ, who's I think one of the best DJs in the world, and just has the most phenomenal music taste. He worked as a consultant on the movie. So meeting Austin, who just has charisma like coming out of his
Oh, yeah.
eyes, he's just the loveliest person. So he really felt right for that. And the four of them, we just had so much fun together. I couldn't have asked for a better group of young up and coming, extraordinarily talented actors, but also like extraordinarily good people with great hearts. So I think part of that was really what this movie was about.
That's really lovely to hear. Yeah, I think everybody, just filled those roles so wonderfully. I am getting the wrap, but I do want to thank you very much for your time today, Ned. It was a pleasure to chat with you.
Thanks so much, Emma. It was such a pleasure to meet you, and thanks for taking the time.
Of course. Have a good day.